so the Suns move on, or the Suns are shoved by Patrick Beverley on. What was that about, by the way?
I don't know. We were talking about this pre-show, and
what was that about?
I told Chris, the funny thing is, because I know Chris is not a Pat Beverley fan, but a lot of people on Twitter.
Because he's not on his team.
Well, that's true.
I mean, that's Patrick Beverley. We've seen athletes like him in many sports.
Like Draymond. If you're not a Warriors fan, you probably hate Draymond.
I don't know, man. It just seems like Pat Bev takes things to extreme.
Well, he was the broadcast spent on occasion an inordinate amount of time on the Patrick Beverley story.
I noticed you tweeted that yesterday.
Well, I mean, the Suns went on like a 7-0 run during the story of Patrick Beverley. So. And it's a terrific story, as Breen pointed out. I mean, his itinerary is all over the world, and I do love stories like that where guys believe in self, and then they have a certain chip on their shoulder. I mean, TB12 is the shoulder chip player of this century.
True.
So and maybe for 80 more years to come. So I always value the shoulder chip and the story of somebody who's self-made, and then he finally gets to the NBA, and the place where he's making his bones, he is sent packing because Chris Paul's acquired. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it, but you're out. Chris is here. And then that falls to complete crap. And again, one of the many moments I'm sure Chris Paul's thinking about today is all the guys that aren't there, and he's there, and Harden being one of them. If they did have that sort of relationship that we heard, they couldn't even shoot on the same end of the practice floor together. So I understand that Patrick Beverley may have a Chris Paul problem. And I don't know if Paul said something to him. I mean, Chris Paul is the king of the veteran maneuver where the retaliator gets the whistle, and he walks away into his State Farm commercial scot-free. Like that, like the number of times where, he winds up flailing on the floor and the replay shows he's the one who's flailing. And, Beverly even made that sort of Pinocchio-type maneuver, marionette maneuver to mimic Chris Paul flailing into his body. And, and Boogie Cousins, walking past him, and then his elbow kind of brushes up against the side of his head, and Chris Paul falls down flat, and Boogie's called for a technical, but not a common foul.
And Chris is sitting there laughing.
Basically saying, throw him out. Chris is that guy. He's the king of that guy, but guy's coming off the floor. He's kicking your ass, and you give him a two-handed shove in the back?
Yeah, I can't.
Like, when he's not looking? Like, what was that about?
I can't defend that. It's just like Chris and I were talking. Half of Twitter was trashing Chris Paul during the game about him flopping and his antics. And then as soon as he got pushed, it was like, how could you do that to Chris Paul? So, yeah, I mean, look, Beverly shouldn't have done that. That's just a horrible
rent.
look.
It's a low rent way for the season. And although I don't know if he said something to trigger him, I have no idea. But you still can't shove somebody in the back like that.
Yeah.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.